Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right. I've been thinking about something for the last hour in regards to the NBA, and I'm not one who takes pride in discrediting anyone. Nor do I think that just because a player may be at a point where the mystique surrounding them might be a bit overinflated, that doesn't mean that their greatness is diminished. But I'm here to say that we are in a space right now. Right now, Kevin Durant might be the most overrated player in the game right now. He might be. KD of the Phoenix Suns might be the most overrated player in the game today. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of what people are expecting from the Suns are based on a mystique about him never losing that is not true. that is not what we've seen. He's been losing playoff games. He's got the same amount of rings as Kawhi Leonard, but they put him on a winning pedestal, an expectation level of winning, and an expectation level of carrying a team as if he's dominated the last 12 years and has never lost. Kevin Durant, as ESPN's been letting us know all day, has lost 6 straight playoff games. A lot of that is skewed by the fact of last year's team wasn't constructed to do a dang thing. If you ask me, with the Brooklyn Nets, that was a lie. Just like this Phoenix Suns team is a lie. So the teams that he's been on haven't been that great. Since he left the Golden State Warriors, he's been on some subpar basketball teams, whether people believe it or not. Is what it is. So that's partially why the teams haven't performed in the playoffs, because he played for the Nets with overinflated teams without depth for 2 years that ultimately fizzled out in the playoffs in some embarrassing fashion. And he has started this playoffs having played very well, if you ask me, at like 11 assists, some solid numbers, good shooting, whatever, what have you. Played good, but the team just didn't get the victory. So that equals 6 straight losses. So it's like, is that scared? Yes. His losses can be overstated, just like his successes can be overinflated. But at the end of the day, the Phoenix Suns are being overinflated in the minds of a lot of pundits because of him. Because they believe he can do what it is that, quite honestly, they haven't seen him really do. They really haven't seen him do that. Now, you've seen him go to the finals with the heck of an OKC team back in the day with him and Russell and James Harden. They went to the finals. They didn't make it, but it was extremely impressive that those young pups got to the finals. One of the youngest teams in my generation to ever make it to the finals. If not the youngest team in my lifetime to ever make it to the finals. So I give them their credit for that till this day. And if James Harden would have played a bit better in the finals, they may have a better chance against the Heat, I believe that was, or whoever they played that year. But the reality that I see it is this. Kevin Durant has added himself to the Golden State Warriors, won 2 championships. All of the credit due to him carrying that team in a lot of ways. We all remember him as the best player on that team. Playing defense and offense, he held his own and put his body on the line and earned those 2 championships. So those are legitimate, legendary championships in my mind, even though some people may look at that and say, well, he joined a 73-win team, et cetera, et cetera. They could have won without him, all of that, whatever. At the end of the day, they put together what they could in regards to the team that they had, with the surrounding pieces necessary when you have so much salary going into the top half of your cap. And they put together a really good team that could dominate, and they did that. They really dominated. And so I don't discredit that. He won that mystique for those championships, being a part of one of the greatest teams, if not the greatest team ever assembled, is real. Okay, Golden State Warriors, that was a thing. For real, still is. But now it's like after that, they looked at his efficiency and his shot making, and in their minds, they told themselves that equaled winning. They told, like the media, they told themselves that this was an unstoppable force because he could hit shots. Essentially how they equated it in their heads, but that's not how that actually panned out, because he was on teams that didn't win, and he wasn't able to, with his shot making and efficiency, ultimately able to get them over the top, unless it was the Golden State Warriors with Steph Dang Curry. So my thing is this: now that I look at a team that he's on, as just as, I'm gonna be honest with you, I think the Brooklyn Nets actually had better players on their bench last year and the year before that than the Suns got right now, low key. I really believe that. But nevertheless, he's on yet another one of these inflated media teams. That's what I call them, where they want you to bet your money on this team, and they know you're going to lose your money on that team. That's what it is. It's that kind of thing. And it's like, again, they're inflating his legacy in a way that provides a aura and mystique that doesn't actually equate to what it is we've seen. He's lost a lot. Sometimes it was not his fault. Those things are well documented. But it ain't just as simple as you put him on a team and now the team is supposed to vault to the top of the Western Conference, win the entire championship just because he came there in place of all of their depth. Like all of the most reliable pieces that they had, they let go of to bring him in. He's had injury issues. We saw him get locked up last year in terms of defense. The Celtics shut him down. All of this is supposed to be ignored because apparently he can get 30 points on 11 shots. You know what I mean? And that's awesome. That is an elite skill. And he's a hell of a playmaker. And he's a hell of a defender. So that makes him, in my mind, one of the greatest players to ever play the game. But just like I say about Stephen A. Smith, or even myself, in Stephen A. Smith's case, he puts too much of an emphasis on shooting. You know what I mean? And for him, in his mind, shooting means you can win the whole thing because if you have a bunch of shooters. And I never agreed with that. Or myself, I often say if you have all the depth in the world, doesn't matter if you have Joel Embiid and Giannis on the team at the same time, the back of your bench is going to make you better because ultimately you give yourself a better chance of being able to withstand injuries to those two players, and thus you'll beat those two players' teams in a 7-game series. But even that can be scary. I can be made a fool of repeatedly if for some reason it just doesn't play out that way. And it can most certainly not play out that way. But what I'm telling you is, people are doing that with Kevin Durant in regards to his shot making. It's like, okay, because he's able to do the things that he's very strong at, they just like put him on a pedestal that is much higher than what it is that he's able to do. And then every year he falls short, and it's like they forget that they've seen this. It's like they're forgetting that they've seen this. And so that's where I'm at with it. How many years in a row do we have to see a KD inflated team fall short before we understand that he, like every other superstar, needs a bench to play with, needs a co-star and who's reliable, stuff like that needs to be on the floor for KD to win. He can't just be the answer to a championship team. You don't have no evidence of that, except for the Golden State Warriors, to which we know the circumstances. You know what I mean? So it's like his mystique is super inflated based on people's IQ, I guess, to the game or what it is they choose to lean in on or focus on or what have you. I'm impressed with KD. I think he's one of the greatest players ever. But his game is not an automatic translation to being able to mask multiple organizational problems. That's what it is I want to say. They didn't want to bring KD in to mask organizational problems, and he's not able to do that with his skills. But they're going to tell you that he can. That's the fullness of the thought. That is the fullness of the thought. Because I'm telling you, man, AD, my guy on the Lakers, he masks a lot of problems. Like a lot of problems. When he's healthy, you can get away with making mistakes with your rotations. You can get away with defensive lapses. You can get away with not scoring as much. Guys can get cold around him and still win a game if he's playing like his normal self. I don't know that KD's like that, dude. I don't know. I haven't watched him enough to know that. But what I do know is every time they tell me his team is as good as it's supposed to be, if Steph Curry ain't next to him, it ain't as good as they tell me it is. It's a bad bet every time. So after the Brooklyn Nets and screaming in this camera for a whole summer that the Brooklyn Nets was not as good as everybody told you they were, and then seeing it fizzle out in the way that I told you it would, now I'm watching the same thing happen over and over again with the Phoenix Suns, and we're seeing the beginning stages of exactly the same thing. Because at the end of the day, he cannot mask multiple organizational problems. You know what I mean? And the Phoenix Suns have plenty of organizational problems as it pertains to their roster right now. They had those problems before they brought KD in. They decreased their asset class tremendously to bring him in, which is something I would have did too. But the media and the circus surrounding the circumstances makes you think that in year one, with half a season, and KD missing some of that half because of the freak ankle injury, that he's supposed to come in with no bench and the Phoenix Suns core, which ain't won a championship, you know what I mean? And just vault himself to the top of the league with 4 players. You know what I mean? Just vault, just skip over all this depth and beat everybody in the field, never mind any of the talent, because KD can get 30 and 11 shots. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, I'm just not that type of stupid, man. And I'm sick of the media telling me to buy that bull crap. I'm tired of it. And it's just unfortunate that KD keeps finding himself on these type of teams. That's all it is. It's not really a thing. It's just he happens to be the star that these teams want to bring to their situation when they want to mortgage their future. And I don't know if it's because they're buying the cap, even though the evidence is clearly telling them not to. You know what I mean? Or what? But if you can't put together a good team around this man, he ain't going to win no championship. And don't think you've put a good team around him when more than half of the team isn't productive at all. You know? And that goes for every star in this league. It ain't no different than Karl Towns and Anthony Edwards. You know what I'm saying? It's not that much different to me. KD is a greater player. But in terms of him being able to lead his team to a championship with the same amount, he has as good a chance as Karl does, in my humble opinion. And they're not going to tell you with the Minnesota Timberwolves with Anthony Edwards and Karl Towns are going to vault to the top of the Western Conference. They're not going to say that because it doesn't make any sense to say that because half their bench ain't no good. But they're going to do that with KD, though. And it's like, because KD's a little better than who they're talking about, but that doesn't mean anything. Better ain't better because better doesn't guarantee you health. Better doesn't help you on the weak side. You know what I'm saying? You need other stuff. It's no different than that Kyrie thing. Here we go again. Brooklyn Nets. Teams doing the same thing that Brooklyn did. Bringing players to them that are supposed to, in theory, mask all your problems. How the hell is Kyrie going to mask the Dallas Mavericks' interior defensive problems? Clearly he was not. But if you look and listen to these media guys and these superstar chasers, they're going to tell you that that Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic together, with the greatness that they provide, which don't have nothing to do with other aspects of the game that will help them with the things that the Dallas Mavericks need. But because they can do the things they can do, you slap them together and they're able to overcome stuff that just ain't physically possible for them to overcome. It's like chess pieces. They're supposed to win a whole chess game without half the pieces. And then I'm sitting up here and I'm listening to people who claim to know about the sport and claim to want to educate others about the sport tell you that this is something that you should be investing in as a fan. This is something you should be concerned about if you're an opponent. It's like, I'm supposed to be avoiding the Phoenix Suns for real? No, I'm not. And real basketball minds may argue that I should as a Laker fan because you have that much respect for those four players. But my argument is that those four players ain't going to make it through the series because of the rest of them dudes. We're going to lean too much on them dudes. So it's like, I'm telling you, this is foolproof and it's playing itself out. The Clippers got the first game in a game where Russell Westbrook went 3 for 19. 3 for 19. And they still won. Why? Because they didn't get nothing at all from their bench. And they played everybody in the starting lineup 45 minutes. Now look, even if you can do that, how long can you get away with that? With KD being, 33? Chris Paul being 37? DB is young, but you're leaning on him. You got him playing with old guys. Ayton, he's a center, man. He's not, you know what I'm saying? His game is different than that. He's going to do what he does regardless who's next to him. So it's like, and even Ayton to a degree isn't quite as good as you want him to be. You know what I'm saying? Getting outplayed by Zubac, stuff like that. I mean, it's like, Phoenix to me is all fluff, just like the Brooklyn Nets was all fluff, man. And I'm telling you, it's not KD's fault. I'm going to throw something back at him. He ain't going to like this, but it's the truth. It's just the circus that's going on around him. BDL 44. I thank you all for watching. Out.